You're listening to Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast. Brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technologically advanced silhouette decoy on the market. First Light, the best hunting gear on the planet. Go farther, stay longer. And Ducklander Calls, tradition, education, and quality. Built to hunt.
Punisher Waterfowls The Refuge is presented by Quick Koys, the fastest deployable, most portable, lifelike motion decoy product ever invented for duck hunters.
Hey everybody, this is Kyle Smock with Show Me Ducks, a proud sponsor of Punisher Waterfowls The Refuge this March at the Toronto Sportsman Show. Come check us out in the Refuge to see the Deep Diver 2.0, the Ice Quacker, and the Mini Quacker.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Episode 214 of the Union 0430 podcast. And we have special guests, the intrepid wanderer himself, Jordan Murdoch from Rig'em. So we'll get into trying to follow him around for the last time we talked to him was back in July, I think. So the last 6 months. So we'll figure out what he's been up to since then. But if you're watching, you'll see it's only Craig on with me tonight. Phil's working, Merc is working. So you just got us two along with Jordan. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't thank First Light and Real Geese and Ducklander Calls for their sponsorship and always being in the corner for us. And, of course, the voice of the Union 0430 podcast, Captain Jeff Coates from Pit Boss Waterfowl. Yes. All right. Jordan, buddy, you know what I love about doing this job, it's not a job, but what I love about firing out text messages and emails to people saying, hey man, what's up? You should come on the show sometime. And then some people, when you don't get a response back, you're like, oh man, I wonder, did I do something to piss that person off? And then there's some other people that don't get back to you and you're like, I wonder where he's at right now. And that's usually what goes through my head when I send you a text message and I'm like, hey Jordan, what's up? And it might take 2-3 weeks before I hear back from you. And I'm like, I wonder where the hell he's at this time. And dude, you are, listen, there's a lot of busy people in this industry and you got to be up there in the top of them because holy smokes, you are a busy man.
Try to be. It doesn't feel so busy all the time. I also, like we were talking before the podcast too a little bit, but the big thing for me is when I do respond to somebody I do want to give them my full attention. Yeah. I don't want to half just, be zoned out or thinking on something else. And we got a lot of things going at Rig'em, right? Bass Pro, Sportsman, big accounts, and some things are stressful and others are not so stressful. But when I do get back, I want to be intentional and attentive to the conversation, and not just be like, "Oh, life's good. What's up?" So, but yeah, no, I'm not the greatest at text. I tell people that all the time. Emails, man, you email me, it should be about 30 seconds to a minute. I'll get back to you pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
But text, I'm terrible about it.
No, it's all good, buddy. I know how busy you are, so I know it'll take some time to get back to you. I had this conversation with someone about an hour before we recorded, and he said the same thing. He's like, man, I'm sorry I haven't been able to get back to you. My communication's been bad and stuff. I was like, listen, I know you'll get back to me. As long as you don't get pissed off because I'm like, hey, did you see my last message? Hey, as long as you don't mind me just pinging you every once in a while to remind you about the email, I was like, I'm good because I know you'll get back to me at some point. So
no, and last week it was, you texted me. Was it last week? Early last week? I think it was Monday or Tuesday.
The week before, you were just getting ready. You were planning on your trip to Was it Nebraska?
Going to Nebraska.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were going over with Angel Wing Outfitters, and they're just outside of like western Nebraska, like Scottsbluff area over there on the Platte River. So, yeah, man, that
looked like a horrible time.
It was the worst. It was Craig, cold. We killed a lot of birds.
Pictures,
we ate.
Craig?
No.
I gotta interrupt you there, Jordan. There's one picture where they're on this river, on this riverbed, on the shoreline, and there's a dead tree on the shore, and they've got it lined up with greenheads. And I'm just like, holy smoke. The green was so green, it was almost iridescent. Like, it was crazy.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And it was skinny water. So it was at the widest, it couldn't have been more than 20 feet wide.
Yeah.
We were using layouts, and we had to kind of back off the water a little bit. We didn't want to be right on top of them. We would have been essentially blowing them in half, making feathers out of them. So we had to back up a little bit. And the morning wasn't, one thing I will say before I get into that is those Angel Wing guys hunt harder than any outfitter I've ever been with. Really? I mean, it was like,
that's a big compliment, man. That's not something that I'm guessing you throw around haphazardly.
No, and I don't, and I'm not a guy that goes with a ton of outfitters. I'm really a public land guy. I've been public land my whole life. Grew up in California hunting public land. Still do it here in Idaho. And I don't go with outfitters. I'm not traveling around hunting super nice clubs or anything like that. But when I was over there, I've been to a fair amount. My dad got super into waterfowling for a little while, and he would always be like, "Hey, I found a guy down in Oklahoma or Arkansas or wherever. You want to go hunt with them?" And I was like, "Sure, let's go hunt. Why not?" But these guys, like, if the birds weren't like, the morning wasn't phenomenal, I think we killed maybe 10 or no, we had 15 in the morning. And Ethan Kirk, the owner, he was kind of like, he was angry at him that day, very angry at those birds, because we went in there the night before and scouted it and probably kicked out, it had to have been 3,000 or 4,000 mallards. I mean, it was just like, we were driving for, on a very, not sketchy, but just very bumpy road into this creek. Yeah. And the whole 2-mile stretch that we were going, it was just as many birds as you could count were pouring out of there.
That's crazy.
So we go in there, we killed like 15 in the morning. And how many guns did we have that day? I think we had to shoot 30 or 35 mallards or something like that. Limits like 5 a person in Nebraska,
so
I believe.
Seven guns.
7 guys. I think we had 7 guns with us. And he was like, "Hey, look, they're gonna fly eventually. I'm thinking it's a midday. Let's go." So we go in to get a burger, and we eat some food and hit the gas station and refuel, and we go back out there. And I mean, when we got back out there, it was like unreal. So I was really like, most outfitters that you go with are 10 o'clock, 11. They're pulling the plug. They're like, "Thank you for your money. Thank you for your time." These guys were like, no, you're gonna hunt until you either pull the plug or you feel your limit. They were very adamant about that. It was awesome.
That's and I get it, right? Like, I get it when people say, "Well, I don't really go with outfitters, and I'm a public hunting guy." And all of that stuff. And I know you don't mean nothing, like you got nothing against outfitters. It's just, that's what you've always done. But that's a prime example right there of why you go with an outfitter. So if you're a freelancer in that area, and by 10 o'clock the birds haven't moved or anything, you're like, "Well, the birds aren't showing up today, guys. Let's pack up. Let's get out of here." But an outfitter that knows that area, "Hey, listen, let's just go get something in our gut and come back. They'll be here." And that's the beauty about these outfitters, is that, and of course there's some bad ones out there, but the good ones, man, are they ever good. They know exactly what's happening in their area.
Yeah, and that's when when they have a passion for it, and Ethan, they got a full-time gig going outside of Angel Wing. So I was talking to him a little bit there. We shared the blind like side by side a couple days, and he said, and I asked him, I was like, "Is this your full-time gig? You like it?" He goes, "This is my hobby, dude. I got a full-time job where
Wow.
I make way more money doing that than I do this." So it's he just loves doing it,
Wow.
and when it's a passion, it probably comes easier to the guys. I know it comes easier for me doing this, but
Yeah.
I bet you with it being a passion of his, he spends more time out there scouting, looking, understanding the terrain, knowing those birds, so he spends a lot of time doing stuff like that. And I don't want to speak too much for him today, but like just a really top-notch crew of guys over there. They did a spectacular job. We did a lot of product testing, trying out some new stuff for Rig 'em Right.
Okay.
And then for Lucky Duck was there with us too. So
sick.
yeah, it was fun, man. It was a good group of dudes. We had a great time having a few beers, eating good food, and just, really kicking back and enjoying it was cold. It was -9 one morning, but the lodge was warm. So
Yeah. No, it's good. And yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on just that one subject, but when that's his side gig, there's got to be passion there, because just the amount of time that it takes to ensure that the clients get a good hunt, that you're not doing that unless you absolutely love it. Like
to put that effort into getting out there and producing, right?
Absolutely. But I've been wanting to talk to you about this, and I really got to tread lightly on this. I know you said you have an absolutely amazing wife, and you took her hunting. The one, our area, our one thing that's ours, and you took your wife. Just joking. She looked like she had a blast, buddy.
yeah, that was so. She's hunted a few times. She's not ate up with it like we are.
Right.
Where if I don't go for like a week or two, it starts to cause it. I'm stirring internally. It's getting bad.
Yeah.
She likes it. She went waterfowl hunting one time, not even hunting. She just went in the field and she sat. She didn't have waders. We got her a pair of waders this season. Shout out Michael Coughlin with lacrosse. He hooked her up with a pair of waders. So she got the hail call women's waders. They fit great. She tried them on. We got these a couple weeks ago, and I was like, hey, do you want to go? Do you want to go? Asking her nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
No. And the hunting where we're at has not been too great, especially over the holiday season. It wasn't awesome. And I got back Friday. My buddy called me. He said, I found a lot of birds. And I was like, all right, where at?
Mm-hmm.
Same spot. We go out there. Me and him shot our limit in like an hour. So we shot our 14 pretty quick. And he's going, he's saying to me, my buddy Hunter, he's like, we should come out tomorrow. I go, Allie is going to kill me if I go out hunting for the 6th day out of the last 7 days. I'm like, I haven't been home.
Mm-hmm.
Life is a mess. Right? He goes, just bring her with you. Don't you have waiters for her? I was like, yeah, I do. I'll see if she wants to go, but she's probably going to want to go to dinner tonight and be out a little later. And so I get home, and I got home early that day, thank goodness. And I go, hey, do you want to go tomorrow? The hunting was really good. It should be good tomorrow as well. Won't be as good as today, but it should be good.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, she was like, yeah, well, let's go. I was like,
sweet.
All right. So we load up the gear and we go. And I mean, she'd probably tell the story a little differently than me. But
most likely.
Yeah, 100%. We get out there and we got up what I would say is late. We got up at 5 and left at 5:30. My buddy went out there and got the spot. He got there early. Public land. We're competing with everybody else, out there.
Yeah.
He gets out there. We show up. We got the spot. A couple other guys in the area. Nothing crazy. Birds buzzing around first light. Right before you can't really pick them out. Well, we're looking and coming off the right side, and she's shooting Hunter has a Benelli Ethos Cordova 20
Yep.
gauge. And I'm like, and he's like, was very kind enough to let her shoot that with some bismuth. And I was like, okay, that should work. So me and Hunter were both like, let her shoot the first single that comes in. If a group of 5 comes in, every man for himself,
Yep.
We're going to kill all 5 birds. Single Drake comes in off the right, and I'm like, all right, like, you see him? She's like, I see him. I'm like, all right, stand up, shoot that bird. And we did some practice the day before where I made her sit down on the couch with a shotgun and stand up and shoulder, just kind of get used to what's going to go on. And I'm like, I'm sitting there and I got my gun in my hand and I take my safety off right when I say kill him, because I'm like, well, she's going to get one shot, like I'm not going to baby her. I'm going to let her, she's going to have to learn a little bit. And she stands up and freaking smokes this thing. And I'm like, I look over at her and I go, dang, girl. Like, first time, I think this is her second time ever shooting a shotgun. The last time she shot was some clay targets maybe 4 years ago or so, maybe 5 years ago. So it stands up, smokes it. Throughout the rest of the day, we let her shoot at some singles, and every bird we told her to stand up and shoot by herself, she stood up and popped it, shot a Drake mallard, a hen mallard, and a Drake widgeon. So she had a blast. She loved it. So it was awesome.
And I think that's the trick, right? It's getting them out and then letting them be successful, and that goes for kids, and it doesn't. And when I say them, I don't mean your wives or girlfriends or whatever. It's whoever you're bringing out that's not as passionate as what you are. That's the trick, is making sure that they're successful and they're comfortable, and then the bug is set, then the hook is set, and then hopefully you've got a hunting partner until you start having rugrats running around, and then that's things will change a little bit then, but it's only for a little while, and then the rugrats are chasing you to the blind. So all in all, buddy, no, congratulations. That's awesome. I seen the social media posts and big smiles on her part and the whole bit. And I thought that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. I did want to go back though and just talk about, just how busy you are. And that's not just with Rig'em Right. And that's just with your personal life and your personal pursuits. You're chasing greenheads right now, but throughout the year, like, you're a multi-species hunter. You're into deer, brown bear, turkey, ducks. Like, you're into a little bit of everything.
Yeah. The way I describe it, and we're just talking about it, the wife had kind of got curious about hunting a little bit more after duck hunting. And I was explaining to her, and I've had this conversation with a ton of people, but the way I phrase it is waterfowl hunting is definitely the most fun. In my opinion, the most fun. Turkey hunting is the most exhilarating, right? You got that gobbler just screaming at you, and this can also go for elk hunting as well. Is the most exhilarating. Big game hunting is the most rewarding, where it's in my opinion, it can be the toughest, solo backpack or hunting trips, you're packing out meat. The way my year kind of looks is like, obviously this summer I'm on the road doing shows and show season. I'm gone about, it's like 7 weekends in a row. And when I say weekend, that's a Wednesday night or Thursday morning till Monday morning, pretty much. So, going nonstop, for Rig'em Right on the road and doing shows and stuff, which it's fun. Once that wraps up, our, here in Idaho, where I hunt at and live at, is August 15th, our archery pronghorn starts. So we'll hunt for about 15 days for archery pronghorn. As many days you can get in, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can sneak away for an afternoon and go sit a watering hole, or get out on the weekends. You do what you got to do to try and kill one. I've never killed one. It is the one animal that has evaded me and caused me more mental distress than any other animal. I've been doing it for like 5 years with a bow, and religiously 5 years. Like would take time off of work to PTO to go do it. Sleep out in the desert, sleep on watering holes, uh, crawl on my hands and knees through cactus, and never been able to harvest one. I've missed it. Pretty much, I've missed like 8 or 9 times. You name a distance between 38 yards to 95 yards, I've missed. I mean, just cannot get the job done. On the flip side of that, right after archery pronghorn is archery mule deer season, and I've killed 5 with my bow now at any distance. And I've actually, after I killed my first one, I've not missed since then.
Wow, good job.
So it's amazing that I can hit a deer with my bow, but for whatever reason, this stupid, desert goat just evades me. It's driving me nuts, man. I've gotten to the point where this year, every year I say this, and all my buddies and my wife and anybody who knows me will attest to this, but like every year I come home, they're like, how was the hunt? I go, don't want to talk about it. I probably missed or had a horrific experience. Like one time my truck engine blew up on me 20 miles from the nearest paved road out in the middle of the desert in southern Idaho. And it was a nightmare. I mean, it was like, it was about 2.5 days to get the truck back to the house. It was just a horrific experience. And when it broke down, this is the best part about this. When it broke down, no more than 200 yards away was a group of 12 pronghorns sitting on top of a knob, just staring at me as I'm sitting there in the desert heat baking. I'm like, this is a joke. God does not want me to kill one of these animals. I swear.
You can't write this, right?
No.
And
so
then
when
you
we go.
Sorry, I cut you off, but then you got your muley. Then you went into brown bear, right?
So you can hunt fall bear here, where we're at, but and we will if we come across one out. This fall we were deer hunting. My wife had a neat little tag that was open up early. We were deer hunting for her, and we came across a black bear, and we went after it. You can hunt them. But it's not as fun. Spring bear is the most fun. So we're doing spring bear and spring turkey. And that's, man, I love it. The weather's nice. The longer days, the hunting's pretty, the sun's not set until 9:30 some nights. So you can work till 4:30, 5 o'clock and still be up in the mountains. Yeah, you can still get in a good day. And as long as you're willing to burn the candle on both ends and be up late if you kill, we've had days where you kill one and you get back to the truck at 1 or 2 in the morning. I haven't partaken in too many of those, but my buddies have. And gosh, they had one day where they got back to the truck like 4:30 in the morning. And then we're in the office at, by the time they got back, 6:37, they're like, why go to bed? Just go to the office.
Head in.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they're crazy about it. But yeah, spring bear, spring turkey, and then we got rifle elk season and archery elk season in the mix. And I like to hunt them all. I like hunting. I just like being out in nature. I feel the most relaxed out there for sure, as I'm sure most sportsmen do. I don't think what I'm saying is revolutionary by any means, but just getting away from it. There's a lot of stress with day-to-day life, and I don't have kids, but I can imagine what another complex being would be in the house. Right? I mean, you got mortgage, cell phone bills, grocery, you got all these things that are just driving you nuts day in and day out, sitting in your office or driving to work. And when you go up there, you don't have there's no red lights, there's no cell service sometimes, and you can shut it off. So it's a good, really, really good break from just the mental abuse that people will take. So, I mean, if you're not a sportsman and that's something you need, I mean, that's a good enough reason to get into it right there,
Yeah. Craig, I know we've talked about it on this show with you. Like, you've got 2 young boys and Kira, your wife. Like, you guys are a busy, busy family as well, right? And you're always trying to keep the kids active and doing stuff. And you guys don't sit around and just scroll on your phone and stuff like that. So,
well, we do plenty of that too.
Well, But
no,
when
we're
it
lucky.
comes,
Like the kids
yeah,
they're busy-ish. Like we're not like some families. Like we're not going out to hockey games and stuff like that all the time. So
right,
we're lucky in that sense. That frees up a lot of time. Like our boys never got into hockey, so we're not spending every waking hour driving around
yeah.
to arenas and that. But yeah, it's like between like just our own extracurriculars and then kids do things like gymnastics and stuff like that, or driving them to buddies' places and stuff. It's enough. So yeah, like when you get those really hardcore sports families, I don't know how they do.
No, but you know, I guess where I'm really trying to go with it, and I didn't word it properly, I guess, is, like you guys are a busy family too, and you have busy jobs, and the kids are busy, and all the extracurriculars and stuff like that. Going along with what Jordan said, when you get out into the woods or wherever it is, in the blind or whatever, you can sort of wash away all of those stressors. Now, once you get back in the truck and you're driving home, all the stressors come back,
Yeah,
and you know what I mean? But for that brief moment that you're out and you're chasing something, or you're just sitting there waiting for it to come, all those stressors go away.
yeah. It's like for me, like I think turkey's the big one for me for that, because I think I was talking about it last week too. It's like come turkey season, I'll take an hour or two off in the morning, but I'll still take my work phone, right? So it's like I'll book the time off,
Yeah.
go out there because I can start early enough, and yeah, when you're sitting there just listening, even before the turkeys start gobbling, you just listening to the other birds waking up. Like that's all there is, right? You're just sitting there listening to everything wake up, and yeah, you're not thinking about all that other crap. You're just sitting there waiting,
Hmm.
focusing on the birds you're hearing, or if you're out walking, during deer season or something, you're staring at the ground, looking for tracks, and yeah, you're not thinking about all that other crap.
No, I would hazard to say that if you're out, and I don't chase big game, and so I'll do a little bit of turkey, but it's mostly always ducks and geese for me. If I And really, the only thing that I have going on in my life is Punisher waterfowl, right? Like that's really the only thing. Kaylee, my daughter's in university, my son's got football, so I'm at that. But I don't really have a whole lot of stress. My wife's got a good job, all that shit, right? If I ever go to a duck blind and I do not appreciate the birds working, and I'm worried about more about what's happening with Punisher waterfowl than I am with the birds that's flying around me, or I'm trying to get the birds to come in, then I think it's time for me to give up on Punisher waterfowl. Like honest to God, and that's not just me being facetious. I honestly believe that. Like I don't think about none of that. There is absolutely nothing going on in my brain other than, is the decoy set right? Am I hidden good enough?
Mhm.
Am I quiet? Are they going to see me? I just screwed up on that call. That didn't sound like a hen mallard. That sounded like a kazoo. Like, you know what I mean? Like this, these are all the things that's going through my head. It's got nothing to do with the stress in life. So it is. I think, and I think that's a lot of the reason why I got back into hunting after I came back from Afghanistan in '07, because I had probably a decade of no hunting. And then
Yeah.
in '07, when I come back and just everything, just getting back to Canada and stuff. And I think I'd been in Canada for probably about 7 or 8 months by the time I got back into a duck blind. And when I got back and I started, yeah, this is what it is. Oh, don't have to worry about all that bullshit. Yeah, I'll just sit here, try and shoot some birds. I think that's the magic about it. And I think everybody knows it. It's just subconsciously they know it. They haven't really figured it out that it's the hunt. It's being out in nature that brings them all down.
And having
Yeah.
something to focus on, right? Like
Hmm.
you're not multitasking. You're focused on what you're doing, and that's what you're there to do. And it
Yeah.
just lets all that other crap just wash away for at least a little bit.
Jordan, it'd be bad if we got you on the show and we didn't get a chance to pick your brain about Rig'em Right. And I know you were with Angel Wings, and you were, and I'm not going to ask you to get into products for next year and stuff, but for this year, when you and I met down in Baton Rouge, Rig'em Right had just come out with the Blackout series, and really just when you guys had started dipping your toes into the decoys, right? Like Rig'em Right's been around, and they've, I dare say, like the rigging and the blind and the blinds. Like my layout blind is a Rig'em Right blind that I've had since, I don't know, since like 2012, 2013. I've had that friggin' thing. And it's still going. And now when you go on the Rig'em Right page, you see chairs and these pop-up. So those pop-up blinds, I'm going to tell you, we've got 3 of them that we use for when we're dog training as our holding blinds and stuff, and as our retired gunners and stuff, and they're amazing. But this year, and you could correct me if I'm wrong on this, but this past year has really been a bit different for Rig'em Right, with the decoys and all the other things that's new for you. So how has that been perceived in the, with the customer base in North America?
Yeah. It is amazing to see so Matthew Cagle, he's the owner, founder. He's still very heavily involved in he's my boss. I report to him directly, and it's very interesting to see. He tells the story the best. I'll kind of paraphrase it, but he used to, he'd go to shows and sell what he said these stupid, string with lead weights that hold your fake birds to attract real birds, and it was like this, because people had them, right? People had decoy rigs back in, I think it was 2006. He started making rigging, and he licensed Rig'em Right, the name, and the company was actually founded in 2008, but he'd been doing it for 2 years prior, just on the side. And to see where it's at now is kind of amazing. I've had Rig'em Right products. I've been a lifelong waterfowler. I killed my first duck when I was 12 or 13, and really got into it slowly over the next couple of years after that. And even when I was getting hired on with them and getting to know him, I was going through my waterfowl gear. I'm like, dang, I got a lot of Rig'em Right stuff. I had no clue, right? I'm like, well, I knew my blind bags and gun cases were Rig'em Right, but then you're at the office and you're looking at some of the gear and you're like, I think I have those lead weights at the house. And you go back and you're like looking at all your decoys. You're like, oh yeah, that's a Rig'em Right, rig system and jerk rig. It's like, that's funny.
Yeah.
But it is amazing to see where we have everything from, we have almost everything except your gun, ammo, camo, like clothing, apparel, tech apparel. Pretty much and then minus like goose and field decoys and motion decoys. We have pretty much everything else you need to hunt waterfowl and do that. So it's been really neat and a really cool journey, and excited to see where it goes. To answer the decoy question is, it's been really interesting and a big learning curve. We sold out of our blackouts in October. We sold out of them quick. I mean, it was like, holy cow, and we ordered a bunch of them. We didn't think they would sell so well. And the first conversations around the decoys, try to say this without getting too crazy. We had a lot of guys commenting, on our post about them, right?
Yeah,
which is, it's always fun.
Yeah, I remember.
I'll just spray paint my own and stuff like that, which is, hey, if that is what you want to do, go for it. Absolutely. Because for years we used to make our own jerk rigs. We'd take a piece of rebar, a bungee cord, and string, and that's how we did it, because we didn't have one of two things. I won't get into that, but that's how we did it back then. We used to get super creative. My older brother used to literally take a duck decoy, cut it in half, and put a miniature propeller in the beak of it, and hook up a battery system, glue it back on, and the decoy, propeller was aimed downwards like a prop on a boat, and it would suck the head of the decoy underwater. I mean, he would do this all the time, just in the garage. And we flocked our own decoys. We did all this stuff because it was like, oh, we got time and whatever. Yeah, it was fun. But it was funny because the people were hating on the blackouts. It's a few people were.
Yeah.
And to see those sell out first before duck season really even got underway here in the States was awesome. So that was a good feeling. Felt good. The mallard sales, have been okay. Pintail been good. Teal been good. We got black ducks as well, but there's such a small portion of the nation that really truly hunt black ducks.
That's right.
We're not expecting, we weren't expecting to, make our year-end nut on that. So it's kind of a heritage thing for Matthew because North Carolina's got a decent amount of black ducks and he wanted to make them. So, but overall they were received pretty well. And I mean, they're nice. I like them. I mean, I'm, getting paid to say that, but I really do like them. I've been really happy. Been hunting over them for 2.5 seasons now. And they've performed well for me. And I mean, at the end of the day, if you're where the birds want to be, you can kill them with milk jugs like they used to. So I'm not going to sit here and say you got to have Rig and Wright's mainline series or Avian X's or you can kill them over any of them. So
and there's the science bit. Well, I don't know if it's so much science, but I remember reading and we talked when we were in Baton Rouge and I can remember first when you guys come out with them, and I remember reading all that stuff. But for anybody that's skeptical on the blackouts, and you head over to Rig 'em Right and check it out what we're talking about if you haven't seen them. But 10 minutes in legal time, I don't care what you've got out on the water, they look like blackout.
Oh yeah.
And that's what the birds are coming into.
Next, I always tell guys this. Next time you're driving down the interstate and you see some birds sitting on a farm pond or on the river or something or on a lake, tell me which one's the green hen and which one's the hen from 200 plus yards away.
Yeah.
They're all black, dude. They're all black from a distance. You can't tell. So and the other thing that that is really like, we did a bunch of, we flew drones over them. We took pictures from different angles, sun, wind, big water, small water. They all seem to do the same. They stood out more than anything else. When we first were talking about the idea of it, Matthew had hunted over them for years, right? I've heard of the idea. I've never really done it too much. I've hunted with guys over it, heard stories and all this stuff. Never seen a ton of birds get killed over myself. So when we first coming out with the idea of them, we got a bunch of samples made and sent them out to guys, test them, try them, beat the hell out of them, give us your feedback. I go out, I got a buddy of mine. He's not in the industry or anything like that.
Yeah. Just a duck hunter.
Just a duck hunter wants to come out. I take him out. I go, hey man, look, do you want to try something with me today? Are you willing to be creative? And he knows I work for Rig 'em Right. He's like, dude, you know this river better. You do what you need to do. I go, all right. I want to run 3 dozen blackouts and nothing else. I just want to see how the birds behave. And that's all I want to do. Put them out there. The hunting had been pretty good, not spectacular, not terrible, just pretty good. We had shot 14 mostly greenheads over those within an hour and a half. And for a public land hunt, that's pretty darn good. When that happened, I really bought into using them myself. I started bringing them and mixing them in all the time. So we would run 50. Really, realistically, you want to run like a 50-50 spread with them. And I really like running all drakes on the outside of my spread and then blackouts on the interior. There's no way you can tell the difference between a hen and a blackout. And if anything, the blackout's going to stand out more than a hen would, tucked up against tules, where you see mallards at, up in the Russian olives, on the banks, So that's how I started running them. I ran them instead of hens, and I'd do a lot of drakes on the outside because drakes, that gray color on drakes does stand out from a distance. You can see them. Definitely. And in the sun, you can tell what a drake and a hen is from a distance too. So It started just getting creative with it and running different spreads and mixing them and matching them. And what I found was about like a 25 to 50%. If you run less than 25%, it really is not going to add much value to your
Right.
spread. But if you run
Right.
too many of them, it's going to work if you run too many of them. But mentally, if you have a bad day, you're going to sign off that idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I get you.
it's that old don't bring a banana when you're fishing thing,
Yeah.
Dude, how many guys have caught, giant marlin and tuna with a banana on the boat? They had no clue was sitting in their cabinet down below,
Yeah.
But then you find it when you have a bad day and you're like, who the hell brought the banana?
Bananas. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
obviously that's the problem.
Obviously, that's the problem. No,
Exactly.
it always blows my mind. You brought up Matthew Cagle and 2006, and I'll just bumming around trade shows, selling his rigs and stuff. And I know bumming around is not the right word, but I just mean like he's not a real business or in the industry yet, but he's going around and he's selling his things. And that's not 20 years ago. So that's 9 years ago, really, or 19 years ago, sorry, that he was doing that. And then you look to where it is today. And I by no means am I anybody of any importance, but I do, every once in a while I'll get a message from someone, and someone will say something like, "I've got this idea. What do you think?" And I'm like, "Fucking go for it. Do
Absolutely.
it. Why not?" And they were like, "Well, what do you think?" I was like, "It doesn't matter what I think. It matters how much you want it to succeed, because that's ultimately what it comes down to. How bad do you want it to succeed?" And just like Matt Cagle going, because I can guarantee you there was probably days where he was like, "Man, I just blew $200 in fuel and food and a hotel room, and I didn't even make my money back on I didn't sell enough rigs to make my money back on what I spent." Do it. The only way that you're ever going to know is if you do it. So just do it. Whatever your idea is, especially as a waterfowler, and I'm not taking away from any of the other hunters or pursuits that's out there. And you sort of touched on it, Jordan and Craig. I know you do this as well as I do it. We all jerry rig whatever we can to save a little bit of money. And if we've got the time and we've got the supplies to do it, and the brain power to make it happen, we've been jerry rigging stuff for 100 years to chase these friggin' birds. And I didn't have the money this year to buy. I wanted to buy Lucky Duck's ice eater that they have, and I didn't have the money to do it. So I was like, well, I need to get this water opened up. So I went and I bought a used trolling motor, and I made a wooden stand and hooked it up to a car battery and put that out, and sure shit, it worked. Is it as good as the Lucky Duck? No, it's not as good, but it got me the last week of the season to get in after some geese, and next year hopefully I'll be able to buy the Lucky Duck ice eater. But that's who we are. That's what we do. We jerry rig shit. We figure it out, and we try it. Just like you said, I'm going to try this today. I don't know what's going to happen, and how many times have we all done it? I don't know what's going to happen, but I want to try this today.
It's amazing what people come up with. And not even out of necessity all the time. It's just out of curiosity.
Like, yeah. So like the fact that your brother put that little propeller just to be able to dunk the duck's head, like that, to me, like it blows my mind how some people's brains work and how they can think of little stuff like that. I just need the duck to just act like it's feeding. That's all I need to do.
Yeah,
and
we hunted a lot of marshes.
Yeah,
we just wanted water movement, you know, and we've done some crazy things over the years to get what we want as a result out of a hunt. And I think every hardcore waterfowler has at some point or another done something like that. A lot of them are really good ideas. And a lot of them, the products that we see in the hunting industry today started as ideas from
100%.
something like what I'm talking about my brother did, and like a lot of the products that Matthew had, where he would go on a hunt with somebody and see it and be like, what is that? And they're like, oh, the jerk rig is a great example of it, because jerk rigs existed. They were a thing in the South and in the timber, and they had been around, but nobody made them, right? Nobody put them in a box and sold them to Bass Pro. Nobody commercialized them. Nobody made it available to the public. It was like a homemade thing that you did.
Yep.
And when he came out with it, everybody was like, it opened up the whole hunting industry and the whole waterfowler to be able to run a jerk rig for 25 to 35 bucks. It was like that. It made it accessible to everybody. So, and that jerk rig has killed more. I mean, you can get, I'm going to say this, and some people like it and some people won't, but you don't have to have the nicest gear in the world to hunt ducks. You can get a $30 jerk rig and a dozen decoys. And if you believe in yourself and you got the time to scout and put in that work, you can kill ducks. It's not science. It doesn't take much.
But you bring up that jerk rig, and you're 100% right, because I had never, I'm up here in Canada, so it was never something that was talked about in any of the circles that I was in. And I'll admit, I don't use it enough as what I should, but I've got a rig 'em right jerk rig over there on the shelf, as well as the majority of my friends have the exact same one. Do we use it all the time? No, but we have it for that one day when you're like, man, we should use the jerk rig today. Yeah, let's do it. Because had he had not done that, I probably would never have even, well, now I would, but when I bought that thing, I didn't know what a jerk rig was. It was only through watching video, like the old DVD series, when you seen fellas down in this Cyprus using them, and you're like, oh yeah, that's what they done. And then when he come out and he, put it together and everyone could buy it, well, then it was, almost every duck hunter I know has one now. They don't use it all the time up here, but
I've got one of your jerk rigs, and it's one of the more regularly used items I've got. So like that wood duck hunt I did on opening day, all I had, because I was just walking in, I had that jerk rig with my, what does it hold? I think 4 decoys.
Yeah.
So I actually had that jammed into a backpack, waded into this flooded timber area. And that's all I had. And it was a fairly large area, and I could hear birds before daylight, like they were landing around me. But even just with those 4, I'm just standing behind a tree, just that little bit of movement, and the birds were all coming right into them.
That's awesome.
And even out on the big water, like when I take a canoe out on Georgian Bay, like I'm just out in the canoe. I don't have a lot of room for stuff. Right. So same thing. I'll take that, set up along this one set of cattails, and I just have those. Because again, I don't have the room to take everything out there to make a big spread to draw the birds in, even though it's big water. I'll just take that jerk rig just to get that bit of motion, because I'm on a good section where the birds will constantly be flying by, and it's just a matter of getting their attention. And I don't have a motion decoy, so yeah, that's what I've got out there. I've got four decoys on Georgian Bay with a jerk rig, and it'll bring
the
them
original motion decoy, the jerk rig.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's what we used to just hunt. I mean, a lot of the times when we were packing into California refuges, we would just bring like 4 decoys and a jerk rig and maybe 2 to put outside of it. But
yeah,
I mean, I'm a big believer in like a less is more stuff, and killed a lot of birds over
absolutely
4 birds 100%. On a jerk rig.
Sometimes the simplest is always the answer, sort of like what you just said, right? Like it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be anything. And you're right. And I've said this on the show a couple times now in the last few episodes, Jordan, and I'll tell you, and I don't think I've told you this. So anybody that's a regular listener, yes, it's another Damien out in Saskatchewan thing again. But, you know, I hung around Alberta and Saskatchewan this past fall with a bunch of people that could afford any jacket, any gun, anything that they need, they can buy it. And you know what? None of them, if I brought up a brand name or anything, they didn't even know who it was. Like, they really didn't care. All they cared about was leaving all the business stuff behind, sitting in the blind with their buddy and shooting some birds. And that goes to your whole, you know, thought process where you say, listen, if you do your work, just do your work. Find the birds. You don't need to have brand new flock decoys every season. You don't have to have all the best camp. Do your work, hide. And if all you've got is $30, if all you got is a half a dozen decoys and a jerk rig, hide, find the birds, you'll kill them. 100% you'll kill them.
Say that, right? And I'm sitting here as yeah.
I've been waiting all day to push a button. All episode I've been waiting to push a button.
I say that as a waterfowl hunter. The sales and marketing manager at Rig and Right inside of me says, you know, go get our newest gun case and
Absolutely.
10 dozen decoys, right? But it is true though. Like, if there's a lot of guys out there who have the money, have the time and the energy to go do that. And that's, you know, a big part of our consumer basis, right? Or is that group of guys. But for your average waterfowler, if you got kids, a mortgage to pay, and you got, you know, a job where your boss is always up your ass on stuff, and you can only go on a weekend here and there because just life gets in the way. You don't need all the fancy, nice, high-end. You need a few things to get the job done, and you can do it, you know. And if you're passionate about it, that's more important than anything else, right? It's the passion is way more important than having 10 dozen of the nicest decoys and a super Black Eagle 3 with Optifade Marsh on it and all this super nice high-end waders and gear. That's not the important part about it. I think a lot of waterfowlers will say that. But of course, there's days where, you know, you're out there and you're like, man, I really wish we killed, you know, 25 birds today. This sucks that we shot 2 buffleheads. Like,
fucking divers.
There's days, don't get me wrong, there's days too.
Yeah, like, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite when I say you don't need these things. I am the guy that buys, if it's new and it's shiny, I'm buying it.
I do the same thing.
100%. I am when, you know, I do my research. There's things I like. I read all the reviews. I trust people. So I am a marketing manager's dream, because if you can sell it, I'm buying it. Do you know what I mean? And if you have the right person, and there's a few people in this world that they stand behind a product, chances are I'm buying it, because if they say that it works, I'm like, yeah. If they say it works, I'm probably buying it. I'm lucky because I can. You know, I don't have the bills and stuff that most other people have these days. So I'm lucky that I can buy them. I love buying the new motion decoy. I love every year I buy at least a couple dozen decoys every year.
Yeah.
And I don't need them. Well, I do need them. Yes. I got to have them. But it's not going to, anyways, you guys know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's and I always refer to myself as and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I always refer to myself as the perfect waterfowl consumer, because I go enough to where I got to buy a lot of gear. I always break something, you know, we're using it a lot. If you come hunt with me, there's a very good chance that I have you all you got to do is show up and buy your license, you know, because I usually have enough decoys and blinds and gear and dog and, you know, everything to do it, boat. I got all the gear to do it. And it's because I'm ate up with it so bad that I
Mhm.
can't get away from it. But I always like to look at when I'm, you know, like when Rig'em Right is promoting something new or pushing, I always look at it like, would I buy it
Mhm.
based on what I currently have or what I might need or what is new? And that's kind of the vision that because I'm using the product so much. I'm out in the field so much, trying to hunt and get as many days as I can in the field because we have, the short window to
Yeah.
do what you love. So I always refer to myself as the perfect consumer because it's like I am a sucker, just like you said you are.
Yeah.
Anything new and shiny, I'm always getting it.
Yep.
Always got to read up on it, read the reviews. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
stuff like that. And it's so my wife is like, what the hell is wrong with you?
The one thing that I will not cheap out on, and after 20 years in the Army, I will not cheap out on clothing. Absolutely not. I
Yeah.
am done being cold, wet, and miserable. My days of being soaking wet and freezing, they're done. I spend money in my gear, in my clothing, and yeah, 100%.
Well,
I
like
do.
we
Yeah,
were
go for
saying
it.
earlier, right? You're out there to enjoy it. You're out there to forget about everything else. And, it's like if you're out there and you're just miserable, what's the chance you're going back out tomorrow or you're waiting for your stuff to dry? Like
I don't know, man.
you need to
When
be
I
comfortable, right? Like,
when I was younger, I was pretty miserable and I had a lot of fun.
Craig, you make a really good point though, because it's like especially for new, like, and I'll
Oh,
use
new
this is the most
hunters.
recent example of it. I'll
Yep.
use my wife again. I wanted to make sure she was warm, comfortable, and eat. So we don't bring chairs out in the
Yep.
field with us like 90% of the time, like if we're hunting the river, because it's like I'll just kneel down and like I like using our stool. That's my favorite one to use for
Hmm.
sure. But it's just extra weight that you got to. So I try and go minimalist, like all my products in a sled and bring them up the river, and that's what I do. But I brought a chair for her. I knew she was going to want to sit down and not stand up and kneel down in the mud and
mhm.
hide in the tules and stuff. And all day long, I was asking her, "Are you warm? You good? You
Hmm.
comfortable?" She's like, "Yeah," and she's got nice waders. We're still working on getting some jackets and whatnot and
Yep.
gloves for her, but we layered her up, and I truly believe this. If she was cold and miserable and we didn't shoot any birds that day, I don't think she would have
Oh
been
no,
as gun ho.
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
100%.
and Craig's point to if you're not warm, comfortable, and enjoying it, you may not go out there. And for guys like us, right?
Yeah.
We can deal with our feet getting cold here and there, right? And we're still going to go out because we're idiots. We're just going to keep
Yeah.
doing it.
Very true.
But you're a first timer or somebody who's a novice hunter, not into it, they get wet and cold one time. I mean, they may be done. They may be like,
Yeah,
that
that's
wasn't
right.
worth the squeeze on that one.
Yeah, juice was not worth the squeeze. No, 100%. It is a good point. It all comes down to, I can remember, um, taking people out and hearing stories about people going out for their very first hunt and everything just lined up perfect for them, right? Just a
Yeah.
great day, just overcast, not just the right amount of wind. Birds did it. Everybody limited out. And then they look at that person at their first hunt and they're like, you're screwed now because the chances of you ever getting this again are slim. Like everything, the moons of Andor aligned for you today. That this does not happen very often. And it's something that you got to make that first impression, that first hunt. It has to be something that hooks them, that they want to go back and do it. And I think pulling off a shot and dropping a gorgeous greenhead, I think you could be cold and wet, but if you pull off that shot and you drop that greenhead, I think you can get over your cold feet and pretty
In
quick.
Nebraska, -9 one morning, right?
Yeah.
It's cold. I mean, you guys are
Yeah.
Canadians, probably used to it a little more than we are, Americans.
I
But
don't know.
-9 was
Nebraska gets
cold.
pretty cold.
Yeah, it was cold, man.
Yeah.
The first day and the third day, the hunting in the morning was a little slow, and we were all freezing. So we ended up back in the truck. Just park the cars and we're watching the decoys. Nobody's in the blind. We're just sitting in the warm truck. And we said, all right, the first big group that hits the field, we'll run back out. Guns are in the blind. Everything's out there.
Yeah.
Like, we'll run out there and go get the stuff. And we're just sitting there watching. And the second day, we got into a bunch of lesser geese, and we shot the crap out of them. It was an awesome day. Nobody complained about being cold because we were all so jacked up on 5,000 birds spinning on top of us that we were like, who cares if your feet are cold? Yeah. I mean, when you're pulling the trigger every 2 to 3 minutes, it's like, sounds good, man. I'm good with this.
Absolutely. No, buddy, it's good. Listen, fellas, we're around about that 60-minute mark, and we can cut her off here, and gives me a good excuse to hit Jordan up again in the future to come back on the show and chat. But you are going to be in Oklahoma City in July, correct? For the Delta.
Yeah, I want either Matthew or myself. Rigger Mike will be there. It's a company. Yeah. Matthew or myself will be there. I could be wrong on this. I gotta fact checkers come on with it. But I believe DUX, the Ducks Unlimited event, is the same weekend in Memphis. I think we're going to divide and conquer on that one. Okay. I got to look at it. Maybe DUX is the same weekend as Rogers Waterfowl weekend. I got to double check it.
Yeah.
But we'll be there. Yep. And that'll be a good, we'll be showcasing all the new products for 2025, 2026 season. We'll be having, we're talking about doing like a happy hour at our booth after the show closes or something like that. So we'll be doing some fun stuff at the expo and trying to just, get closer with the community of guys that we know and just hanging out. And I just want to hear stories of people shooting birds and, first time hunts and stuff like that. So it'll be fun.
Yeah. So, and I think that's, the trade show, and I said we're probably going to end this, but we'll end up going on for a little bit longer here. The trade show for a company, it gives you a chance to get out, to get the new products out in front of people where they can touch it and feel it and critique it, right? But it's also an opportunity for the consumers to start picking the brain and asking the company, okay, so what is it about this that you like? Because 9 times out of 10, half of these new products that come out, there's something to it that on first glimpse, you don't see it and you don't know, hey, if you use it like this, when we were doing our testing, when we use it like this, we get a little bit better of a result. And that's where the consumer, I know and Craig, you go to these shows and you talk to everybody. So I know this, but if you're a consumer and you're going to these shows, don't just, when you're walking past the booth and you see a new decoy or you see something new and you're like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. I seen that on social media. Yeah, I'm probably going to buy that. Pick the brain of the people that tested it, because I think 9 times out of 10, you're going to be surprised that there's just a little thing that you're going to learn about that new product that those people who were testing figured it out, that it wasn't planned, but they figured it out just through the testing.
Well, I think too, and we've talked about it before, is like you get to meet the people that are, it's, like you said, you're paid by Rig'em Right to say buy our stuff, but like you get that feel for some of the people who are still standing behind their product and they know the product, and it's not just somebody who's paid to be there kind of thing, right? And people can pick up on that because there's a lot of decoys out there, but what are you going to learn from that person? What are you going to get from their passion from it? Like there's more to that.
Well, I can remember Baton Rouge, and I, for the life of me, and it's horrible, but your buddy that was with you in Baton Rouge, and I forget his name, and
Peterson.
Who's that?
Blaze Peterson.
Yeah, and I had stopped by. You and I were chatting and talking, and we were looking at stuff and everything, and it was great. It was awesome. And then I'm walking around, and he comes up to me, and this is, I don't think I told you this, Craig. This is probably one of the most amazing feelings I've had going to one of these shows. And he came up to me and he was like, "Hey man," he said, "I got to ask you a huge favor." I'm like, "Sure, buddy. What's up? What do you need?" He said, "Can I have a sticker, a Punisher Waterfowl sticker to put on the inside of the Rig'em Ray truck?" And I was like, "You're going to put it on the inside?" Like, I was like total high school girl, right? I was like, "You're going to put my sticker on the inside of your truck?" And for the Rig'em Ray truck, because they got all the stickers of all these brands in there. And I was like, "Yeah, you can actually, I'm going to send you like 50 of the fucking things and you can plaster them all over the friggin' place." You know what I mean? But it just, to go with your point, Craig, like, it's your chance to meet some people. And I think you'd be surprised that even when they're aligned with these big companies in the industry, and I have heard you say this, Craig, a million times, that of the people that you've met on the show, you're always amazed how just down to earth everybody is.
Yeah.
And I think that's another good thing about these trade shows, is that you get to see the people behind the brands, and they're just as crazy as what we are when it comes to hunting birds.
Blaze is ate up with it, just like me, dude. He's a good dude. That guy last year at the Pennsylvania show, Great American Outdoor Show.
Yeah.
We were at that one, and I was trying to find somebody. We didn't have any contacts up in Pennsylvania or anything in Harrisburg. And I was like, man, I really need. I called him up and I'm like, dude, I got a major favor. 17-hour drive from Kansas City, where he lives at. I'm like, I got a major favor to ask. I'll make sure you're taking care of gas. Like, don't worry about that. But like, can you get here? Like, next week? He goes, sounds good. I'll be there. Drove 17 hours nonstop. Got there, worked the show for 6 days, and went. Dude's a killer ambassador for us.
Yeah.
Love the dude. He's awesome. And that's, I think, something that is really not talked about a lot. And what we're talking about now is just how good these people are in this industry.
100%.
They'll do anything for you. And it's not, I don't want to sit here. It's not a super lucrative industry, right? It's not like tech or food. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. There's not companies making billions hand over fist. We don't have $1 trillion company in the outdoor space. We might have $1 billion one, maybe with like a Beretta or one of those, gun manufacturers, that's maybe.
Right.
But for the most part, you're just talking in the millions, right?
Yeah.
For your average company, and smaller ones are going to be hundreds of thousands.
Lucky. And buddy, I tell you what, in the millions, you could probably count on two hands.
Yeah. Yep. It's not a big lucrative business where you can make a ton of money and have nice cars, and it's not like that. And I say that to forewarn some people. If you're thinking you're going to make a ton of money here, it's not. You got to have a passion for it, and you can make money at it.
That's right.
With your passion, but you got to be diligent. You got to work those extra hours, and you got to really build something special like Matthew has. But for the most part, these guys are doing it because they just don't. I mean, they have another job, right? Yeah. Like Blaze, he was running a lawn care business, a really nice one down in Kansas City. He was taking care of like Travis Kelce's neighbors and stuff, like really nice neighborhoods and stuff. And somebody jacked all of his stuff, and he went back to cleaning up storms and hurricane relief.
Really?
So
wow.
For and I don't want to speak too much for him, but for him, it's getting away from that lifestyle of cleaning up a storm and coming out and hanging out with us. And a lot of these guys just want to do it because they're so passionate about selling outdoor products or selling the lifestyle or selling the passion or the hunt, that they just want to do that, and for some people it's not realistic to have the job, but it's realistic to help out shows, and we can't thank our ambassadors enough just because of how much help they've given us over the years and growing the business. And we'd love to hire every single one of them, and have them be a part of the team. But like I said, it's just not that crazy lucrative like tech. We're not Apple.
and this is good. So we're going to keep going because this is good. I sent a screenshot to the boys. So I've got two topics there's two things I want to talk about. So I'm going to write a note just so I don't forget. Are you good for time, Jordan?
I'm good. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Sorry to keep dragging it on.
No. This is good. It's good because it's a couple good things that I want to talk about. So first off, I want to talk about Rig'em Right. in the sense that from a marketing sense, Rig 'em Right is brilliant. And I'm not saying this just because you're here, and anybody that has listened to this show from the very beginning, you will hear me talk about an episode back probably in the 20s or 30s where I reference a picture that was on the Rig 'em Right website, and it was on social media and the whole bit. And I can remember, even if I didn't know anything about Rig 'em Right, I was like, that's the gear I'm buying. And it was a picture of a dude, and I know it wasn't Matthew, so it was one of your ambassadors, and he was out in a pond. He was up to his waist in water. Rain was coming in sideways. You could see the water sort of like beating off his toque, and is smashing him in the face. And he's got his the Rig 'em Right floating gun case in his hands, and he got some decoys over his shoulders. And that picture, and I was like, that's marketing done right there, because that is showing not just a stack of birds on a beautiful day, all stacked up where everything, after the hunt, and this is what it looks like. This is showing you exactly what most days are, and that's decoys and guns, no birds in your hand, and rain's coming in sideways. It's miserable, but you're still going out and doing it. And that was one of the marketing things. And listen, Rig 'em Right is really no different than any of the other brands that are out there. And what I mean by that, and I don't want you to get ready to come at me here, but what I mean by that is that every one of the brands that are within this waterfowl industry, they've all carved their own little niche thing into the market. And Rig 'em Right did that by commercializing the rigs and then continually building. So it started with the rigs, then the panel blind, because when Rig 'em Right did that, when that panel blind come out, like that was just like, whoa, panel blind. What when are we, why are we getting rid of our coffin blinds? And then now the pop-ups, and now you're in the decoys, and everybody's got their own little niche part of it. And when it comes to the marketing side of things, and this is very long-winded, when it comes to the marketing side of things, you've got to set yourself from everybody else, because that's what's going to pull fellas in, guys and girls. And that picture, and I still remember, I'm sure I can find it if I go on and search for it. That picture will always be the one that's in the back of my mind. That's what waterfowling looks like. And so
yeah,
marketing and Rig 'em Right does it well. It is a bare bones, grassroots, hardcore. These are words that I think of when I see Rig 'em Right, and the Rig 'em Right pictures and the stuff that goes out on social media. It's always that same theme in my mind.
Yeah, and our slogan's heavily seasoned,
Yeah.
right? And that you can take that, you can interpret it multiple ways. Are you a heavily seasoned hunter? Is the gear heavily seasoned? There's marketing in the waterfowl space has changed a lot over the years. We've tried to keep it pretty tried and true. We used to even have a banner and an ad that went out, and it said something along the lines of like, "Sorry, hippies, man doesn't eat tofu," or something like that, or duck hunters don't eat tofu.
Hey, if you find one of those in the warehouse, send it to me, will you?
Yeah. I really want to revive some of one of the things I'd like to do is revive some of these old slogans and stuff. And a lot of these were all Lee Jose's ideas, and Matthew and him would scheme together, and a lot of those images are Lee Jose, and Lee's incredible, man. He's done a lot of really good things for a lot of good companies. And the marketing thought behind it is him is, tell a story, captivate the people. And yeah, I mean, on your phone, like if you ask a duck hunter, pull your phone out, and show me some of your pictures from your hunt, they're going to show you pile pics, right? And birds hanging. Nobody is going to show you the 1 mile walk in mud and water, in rain and snow that you had to go through to get in there and shoot a handful of birds. Like, nobody wants to talk about that because it's just like, I had a bad day, or your gun got wet, or you got your waders full of water. Nobody talks about those days. Those happen more often than 10-man limited greenheads. I promise you. It's those days are way worse. But that's duck hunting. It's kind of like this fun a little bit to it as well, because you're like, we get out, we'll take the boat on the river, and we're like, could flip it today. There's a chance we could hit a rock and flip this boat. It's that little bit of excitement where you're like, or it could go spectacularly well and we could shoot a 4-man limited green today. It could be awesome. You just never know. So we've tried to tell that story of the nitty gritty waterfowler, and for the hardcore guys that are out there and doing it and beating up their gear and trying to hunt ducks. And I feel like we've done a good job at it, but we have a long ways to go as a company, and we got a chip on our shoulders, so we're still going after it.
But you've brought that up a couple times, beat the gear up, and I remember I was out in Saskatchewan. You sent some stuff to me, and you were like, "Hey, I'm sending this out to you. Beat the shit out of it, will you, and let me know how it does." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure, I can do that." But and that just plays along with the idea behind it, right? Like, it heavily seasoned. It's got to be tough. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and you sort of alluded to it, Jordan, and Craig knows where I'm going with this now. When you were talking about this lucrative business and how people view this as, this multi-million, billion-dollar company and stuff. So it's been a minute since I've went on this rant about pro staff and people reaching out for, and listen, I do it. I will reach out to companies and I'll say, hey, listen, I should be, this show should be representing your brand. I do it. I reach out and I do this very thing that I'm about to criticize someone for doing. But the difference is that I do my research and I try to sell myself and how I can benefit that company, because I understand that the company is going to make way more money from me than what I'm going to make from the company. So I have that understanding. I understand. So, and I'm not picking on anybody, and by no means is Punisher Waterfowl a big brand, and I don't get pro staff requests very often, but when I do, nobody does any research. Nobody, it's just, hey, I was wondering if you would sponsor me. Well, hey, what can you do for me? Well, I'd take some pictures for you. I can get pictures anywhere, buddy. Like, I'm not trying to be a dickhead here, but you got to sell yourself. Tell me what you're going to do for me. Because like you said, Jordan, there's not $100 bills just flying out all over the place where you could just, yeah, okay, sure, I'll sponsor you. Here, take $2,000 worth of gear and send me a couple pictures. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, usually the companies that are doing it are companies that are trying to aggressively grow,
right,
and have a good, I could say, trust fund behind them.
Yeah.
Like, they got money. It's a guy who loves waterfowling. He's got a lot of money, and he wants to grow the business, so he'll do what he has to do. And you know what? He's doing the same thing we are. Yeah. He's trying to grow his business and make a living out of his passion. There's no criticism to that whatsoever. That is more power to you. So not all companies have that, what's the right word? Benefit, I guess you could say, to, advantage, to have millions of dollars in the bank ready to toss out at marketing and stuff. That's sometimes right. You got to get gritty with it, and you got to do what's the best bang for your buck. And, but yeah, there's a lot of guys out there that do that. And, I get it to an extent, because they just want to do they just want to make money off their passion, and that's something that's come to light really, really interesting, because our parents' generation, it wasn't about doing it was go to the damn oil factory and work. And I mean, my grandpa worked at an oil refinery factory. It was like, I don't think he was passionate about shell oil.
Yeah.
But he made money doing it, and that's what he did. And
Yep.
my dad, same thing. And this is the first, within the last 10 years, is the first time people can actually make a living doing what they love because of, I mean, really, if I can get it out of my pocket, because of this thing right here. I mean, the iPhone and that Apple tech, YouTube, Google, all that stuff has changed the way that people monetize themselves. And for better or for worse, you can make money doing that now.
Yeah.
So,
well,
but I think a lot of guys have this, construed thought of, I'm going to go kill ducks full time and make 300 grand a year, and or 200 grand a year, or 100. That ain't going to happen.
No. Well,
few and far between.
And I think this is the first generation, as the majority, where they'll say, yeah, I'm not doing that job. I don't like that. Whereas, your grandfather, even, me, I didn't join the Army because I wanted to be in the Army. I joined the Army because I needed a job. I was 23 years old living with my mom and dad, and I just couldn't do that anymore.
Well, I think there's so many people, they get trapped in this feeling that they've got to love what they do, and you got to, you got to do what you're passionate about, and then, it'll never be a day of work in your life. And it's like, well, that's not reality. It's like, same thing. Like, I had no intention of ending up where I am, and I do a good job. I don't come home at the end of the day and want to talk about work. It's never on my mind if I'm not there. But at the end of the day, it allows me to do the other stuff I want to do. So I think there's just
to an end.
Yeah, people just get stuck in this trap, and it's just this mindset, and it's an online mindset, right? It's social media thinking that you should feel great all the time, and if you don't feel great, you should leave that job and go on something else. And there's going to be times where that makes sense, but you can't. If you spend your whole time trying to find that one thing that you love to do and that you're passionate about, you're always kind of setting yourself up to be unhappy, right? Like you're convincing yourself that if you're not doing that one thing, that then everything else is crap. So it's like, just do what's going to allow you to do what you want to do. You don't feel like it's got to be the exact right thing all the time.
If you can go make 150 grand a year and get 6 weeks paid vacation and have full benefits, I mean, that's 6 weeks of hunting, like if that's the way I look at it, like, go do that. I mean, that's more than most people get. I mean, your average guy is going to be in the field maybe 10, 15 days a year. So, I mean, it's options, right? You don't have to be in the hunting industry per se. But, even being in it from a distance, being a ambassador that goes to shows and does, helps out companies, you're in the industry at that point. You're not considered a sales guy or, a tech guy or a car mechanic. You've made money and you can go do what you want. And in the time off, you get to go do some shows and hang out and get some good discounts and gear. And it's fun. There's definitely that aspect to it as well.
But I think that's the thing that the majority of the people need to understand is that if you are lucky enough to become an ambassador or sponsored, and I don't even think companies sponsor anybody anymore. I think that's been long gone. But if you can be picked up as an ambassador, I think you need to understand that the company is going to get their pound of flesh out of you. And that isn't meant to sound like the company is this bad company. It's just, that's the way it works. The company is always going to make more than what the employees, you know what I mean? So, and I'll just leave it with this. And that's what I was doing on my phone while you were talking, because I had to find it and make sure I got it right. Because my buddy posted this today. And I'll leave you with this. There's 2 girls that got an OnlyFans page, and both of them has made more money than LeBron James and Steph Curry combined this year. So, if you don't want to work, and I know the majority of all you motherfuckers that listen to this show, you aren't getting on OnlyFans, and you're not making that kind of money.
You're not being successful with it anyways.
No. So, I'm going to tell you, figure it out, go get a job, and then on your weekends, go do what the rest of us do and
Yeah.
get out and sit in the blind and piss moan about your boss and Charlie that keeps eating your lunch. Just roll with it and get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah. On that note, we will end her right there. Let's do a quick round the table. Craig, to you, buddy.
Jordan, good to talk with you, especially after last time was the 200th episode, and there's a whole lot going on there. But
Yeah.
in the future, I'd love to hear more about your various hunting stories. Sounds like you probably got some good ones.
Yeah, too many. But no, thanks for having me on, guys. Thanks for giving me a platform to speak on and just kind of talk a little bit about Rig 'em Right, the company, where we're headed, and hopefully I didn't bore you guys too much and jump on sometime soon here. Maybe even do like a live podcast at Delta or something like that if you're down there, bud.
Buddy. Yeah, and so that's the plan. So we'll go down this year. Craig is coming, so the whole crew is coming down to Delta this year. We'll be set up right next door to Craig Mintz and Real Geese, and the plan this year is live podcast right from the booth as we're traveling around the arena, the whole bit. So that's the plan this year. So we'll link up for sure, buddy, 100%. And no, it wasn't boring. It was great. I think when you get closer to your launch, if you wanted to do a soft launch on the show to tell people about what's coming up, we could do that as well. But as you know, I'm a big fan of Rig 'em Right. I'm a big fan of everything that you do. And it's an open invite for you to come on this show whenever you want, buddy. All you got to do is reach out and ask, and we'll make time. With
Appreciate
that,
it.
ladies and gentlemen, that's episode 214 of the Union 0430. We are not experts, nor will we ever pretend to be, but we've got some pretty crazy opinions. Big love. Surround yourself with good people. Until next time.